page 11. All right, on page 11, let's kind of talk because several of us in the room were not here yesterday. So let's make sure that we kind of understand what we did yesterday, and then we're going to move forward. So yesterday we did this part. We did given a discrete domain. So if you were gone yesterday, this right here, discrete domain, what that means is yesterday I gave you a list of x values. And then what we did was we plugged them in to the equation to find y, and then we just graphed it. That's it. Okay? So if you were gone yesterday, this is kind of what it looked like. I plugged in these x values to the equation. I got these y values, and then I put those on the graph. Okay? Now, if you don't have this down, don't worry about it. I'll put this back up here when we're done, because we're just going to do one example together, just like we did yesterday. Okay? But here's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to go back down here. It says, given a domain, this time I'm going to give you a domain of all numbers. And we're going to do the same thing. So how does that make it different? So yesterday I told you specifically that your x values, these are your x values. Your x was -6, your x was -4, your x is -2, your x is 0, your x is 2. I told you that very specifically. Today, all it says is your x's are all numbers. So if your x's are all numbers, what numbers are you going to use to put in here? Whatever your little heart desires. All numbers count. All numbers work. Which ones do you want to do?
All zeros.
Well, you have to pick different numbers. But so you can do -1, 0. You can do 1. You can do 2. You can do 3. I'm just going to warn you that if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's usually going to be off the graph. Okay, so if you start with -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. That's usually going to be on the graph that we give you. So if you kind of center it around 0, that's usually going to work. Now, you don't have to do that. And I'm going to show you on some of the problems that we do for our practice here in just a second that you're not going to want to choose these numbers. And I'll tell you why. Okay? Okay, so we're going to pick those numbers. You can pick any number. So the first little note to self down here is you can pick any number. Okay, so let's do that. Let's plug it in. So this is what we did yesterday. We plugged them in, we got our x, y, and then we put them on the graph. Okay, so that part, I'm not going to go through it super slow because of the fact that we did it yesterday. But those of you who were gone, I will make sure to go back and show you how to use your calculator after the fact, but maybe you can grab it from here. Okay, so we're plugging this in. So when you plug it in, those of you who were here yesterday, make sure that there is a negative in front of your parenthesis. Okay, so when you type it in, hit negative, hit parenthesis, and then put your number in. Please keep your random comments to yourself. Thank you. Okay, so then we're going to get an answer of -1, comma. So if you're plugging it in, that's fine. Or if you're doing it in your head, that's fine. You should get the number 4. Did you type that in and get 4?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you keep going. We did that yesterday, so go ahead and type those into your calculator and get the values for x and y. And I'm going to go through, for those of you who weren't here yesterday, here's how we do it in our calculator. Okay, so I'm going to get that negative button there. -1 plus 3. Okay, and then hit enter. Slide this over so you can see. Okay? Nope, still can't see it. There we go. Okay, got that on your screen? I'm going to teach you a little trick. Okay, and with that one, you just have to hit up. You don't have to like hit enter. You just go up and you can change the numbers. Okay, so with these calculators, you got that on your screen? Okay, so then hit the up button twice. So up, up. Okay, and then that's highlighted, right? If you hit enter, it just did a copy and paste. Okay, so now I'm going to take this -1 and change it to my next number. So my next number is 0. So I'm going to go over and change that -1. So I'm going to hit the over button until I'm flashing on this 1. I'm going to change that 1 to be 0. Don't hit delete or anything, just change it to be 0. Just hit 0. Now, I don't want -0, so I am going to delete out the negative. So I'm going to delete the negative that's in the front there.
Oh, it's a straight line.
And then I'm going to hit enter. And I get the answer of 3. So you don't have to type every single one in individually. We can kind of use our calculator to change it up. So when I type in 0, I got the answer of 3.
So you can use the other kind.
Is there any more yellow calculators?
Nope.
You borrow your friend's here. She's not using it.
Okay, now I need to change. I'm going to go up, up again. And I'm going to change that 0 to a 1. And hit enter. And I get the answer of 2. So this time when I plugged in 1, I got 2. And then the next one I need to plug in is 2. So you go up, up, enter. Scroll over to change that 1 to a 2. So when I plugged in 2, I got 1. And then some of you asked yesterday, if I can see a pattern here, can I just continue the pattern? Yes. These are all going to be straight lines, so they should go in a pattern. So if you see a pattern going, and you did your numbers in order on the left, now if you go out of order, then that's not going to work, but if you did your numbers in order on the left, then you should see a pattern on the right. So it goes 4, 3, 2, 1, and then this one will be 0. Okay, so that's what we did yesterday. So if you were gone yesterday, you just got caught up. Okay, now here's the difference between yesterday and today. So yesterday, we put these dots on the graph. Okay, so now that we have those dots on the graph, when your dots are on your graph, I need you to put your eyes up so that I can see that you are ready for the last part of this. Okay, so you're going to put your dots on the graph, you're going to keep your phone down, and you're going to put your eyes up so we can get this last little piece. Oh, wait. Those of you who were here yesterday, this is where we stopped, right? We stopped right here. The reason we stopped right here is because, eyes up here, only those numbers worked. Because it told you, right here, only these x values counted, right?
Yep.
But today, all numbers count. So how do we communicate that all numbers count? All numbers, including the ones in between your dots. All of these numbers count. So, we talked about this yesterday. I'm just making sure we understand. If you graph and you don't know whether or not to connect the dots or not connect the dots, you cannot even get a 1. Okay, so that's the part of this. You're doing the same process. Okay, the process for a level 1 and the process for a level 2 are the exact same. except you have to know that when it says all numbers, that means all the numbers, okay, including the ones in between. And when it doesn't say that, when it gives you a very specific domain, then your dots are very specific, the only answers. Okay? Okay, so your job is to do pages 12 and 13 if you turn the page. Now, before I just let you go, however, we want to talk about on page 13, problem number 4. Okay, so starting on problem 3, you switch to having all real numbers as your domain. So your domain on number 3, 4, and 5 is all real numbers. So I'm going to write that at the top here. We're on number 4 on page 13. So 12 and 13, that's your job right now. But I'm just writing that we're doing all real numbers. So you get to pick any number you want for this. Okay? You could pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm telling you ahead of time that because of this fraction right here, if you pick 1, you're going to get a decimal. If you pick 2, you're going to get a decimal. If you pick 3, you are not going to get a decimal. It's going to be a whole number. So 3 is a good number to pick. Why? Because there's a 3 on the bottom. So tell me another number that I could pick. 6. Give me another number. 9. Yes. And then you could also pick the negatives of those numbers. So if you do not want to have to deal with decimals, I would pick -3, 0, 3, 6, and 9. For example, you could pick 12 if you wanted to, but that's probably going to be off the graph. Okay? And in fact, maybe 9 would be off the graph? No, I think we'll be good. No, you'll be good with that. 9 just is not on the graph on the right side. Like it doesn't all go to 9, it only goes to 6. Okay? So that one actually won't be on the graph, but that's okay. We just don't graph this last one. All right, so anytime you have a fraction, if you choose numbers that can be divided by 3, or whatever this number is on the bottom, you'll come out with whole numbers instead of fractions or decimals. Okay. Okay. One more thing before I let you go. Sorry. Okay. So this is currently what we have completed. Okay? So here's all of your names, and then here's all the things that we have completed. This is what's going to happen. As soon as you're done with these 5 problems, you're going to do 5 problems right now. That's it. As soon as you're done with these 5 problems, I'm going to go through your binder and see how much of this you have done. Okay? I'm going to check page 4. You can check it right now if you want. Is your page 4 done? Okay? Now, if any part of that is not done, for example, you didn't write if it was a function or not, that doesn't count as being done. Okay? You have plenty of time in class to do it. It doesn't count as being done, and it'll be marked as an incomplete. So if your page 4 is done, you can put a little star at the top, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a star. I'm going to put an I for incomplete. What happens to you if you have 7 incompletes? Nothing. What that does is, that tells me that those are the pages you need to complete before you can reassess. So if you're a person that has to usually reassess, or you have had to reassess in the past, if these pages are not done, you are going to have to finish those before your reassessment. So page 4 was the first one. You checked that one. I'm good. Page 7 is the next one. These are where all the classworks are. So if your classworks are done... No, it's just, I'm just marking it down for my records so that when you come to me and say, I want to reassess, I will pull this up and say, you've got these 3 things that are incomplete. You can't reassess. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so, and then I'm going to go check page 9 and page 10, and then the worksheet from yesterday, and then pages 12 and 13. So, everything that we've done so far is going to go on this sheet, and that'll help me to know where you're at. Okay, if you're good to go, like I am a master at all of these skills, then it doesn't really matter, right? But if at any time you need to reassess, that's where this comes into play. But what if I don't want to reassess? Well, sometimes you don't have the choice. Okay? All right, so as soon as you're done, let me know, and we will check these off.